بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Okay, so inshallah we're going to continue covering the 11th page, 11th, 12th, and about three more pages to cover the introduction. On this page he speaks about the importance of the Umdah and what Umdah Fiqh, this particular text, and how what status it has amongst the scholars of the Ummah, and because it's written by Imam Qudamah, Moffaq ibn Qudamah, the great renowned scholar who is considered basically like an Imam Nawawi. Whatever he used to write became like a reference, right? So even one of the scholars who studied this textbook, was Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and the other, there have been many commentaries of this book. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote a commentary in his early years, so it shows you the weight of this book. But this particular commentary is not a classic commentary. It's written more for the Western audience, English-speaking countries, and it's by far not the most important commentary, but it's really good, and alhamdulillah. He mentions that he may quote opinions contrary to the author's opinion, but that is understandable, because the idea is for the student of knowledge to understand that khilaf, having differences and various opinions, is part of nourishing the flexibility within the student of knowledge perspective. He mentions how Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah praised Ibn Qudamah. They used to call him موفق, because from Tawfiq, divine assistance, because that was his nickname, because he had so much knowledge. And even until today, there's no scholar that is basically doesn't know his work. There's no scholar that doesn't know his work. Ibn Taymiyyah said that no scholar entered Greater Syria more knowledgeable than after Imam al-Awza'i, who was one of the classic imams of the classic time, one of the contemporaries of Imam Malik. He said no one entered Greater Syria who had more knowledge, after Imam al-Awza'i, than Moffaq الدين ibn Qudamah. So that is very important to show you how much he's regarded. Okay, we're going to continue here. So another point that he mentions is that he's not going to, in this text, he doesn't say, this is the stronger opinion. He may say this opinion is strong. This opinion has a stronger dalil, but just as respect of the vast body of knowledge and the various opinions of scholars about a particular fiqh issue, it's hard to say that this is the strongest opinion like that. But at the end of the day, we're required to base our opinions upon the strongest dalil, the evidence, and the most apparent, and as far as Quran and Sunnah is concerned. So that on that basis, he may say this opinion is strong, or this opinion is weak. as he says here, it remains a responsibility of the reader to seek what he feels to be more consistent with the proof. He said some of the benefits of mentioning opinions from outside the madhab. So you have in the madhab, and this is a Hambali school of thought. In other words, it's taken from Imam Ahmad, and the sister madhab of the Hambali school of thought is Shafi'i school of thought, because Imam Ahmad was a student of Imam Shafi'i, rahimahumullah. So now, within the madhab, you have different opinions of the scholars within the madhab, and the strongest and most reliable scholar as far as letting you know what the opinion of the Hambali madhab is Ibn Qudamah. Okay. But you'll see in the footnotes that he brings different opinions, right? And the benefit of that is to get the student used to various opinions of the jurists and different disagreements and how they come to their conclusions and like that. So it trained the mind of the student of knowledge on how to deduce rulings and give them appreciation for the process of reasoning and deducing and dealing with the text. So, which is ijtihad, because you cannot become a true student of knowledge until you learn the process of coming to conclusions and deducing evidences or rulings from the text. And the only way you'll be able to do that is by looking through the various opinions. Okay, so he deals with some students. He said someone may ask, why didn't you, if you're not going to stick verbatim to the text, why did you call this book, basically, why didn't you give it a different name and just basically explain that he's explaining that he took a middle path between writing an entire different book or commentary and sticking 100% to the text. So what he's trying to achieve here is the author of this particular commentary, what he's trying to achieve is he's trying to give the student of knowledge a taste of learning a text, a classic text, which is predominantly the way most scholars learned. Okay, mastering a text without going into comparative fiqh. But at the same time, he wants to get the student a taste of what it is to look at the various opinions. So he would, in the footnotes, he would bring other various opinions, and he would deviate a little bit from the madhab, just so that the student won't be 100% dependent on the madhab. But also at the same time, he'll learn how there'll be a certain methodology in learning. I hope that's clear. So he said the student of knowledge may broaden his horizon by learning about various opinions of other equally great scholars of Islam, right? While at the same time memorizing a text. So this is what he wanted to achieve. Okay. Yeah. So basically, he's saying here that if the fruit or the whole the agenda behind, or the goal or the objective is that the student, after memorizing this or finishing this book, though he would be able to look at other opinions and see if there's a stronger opinion, he would go with that opinion according to the dalil. Otherwise, he has something to fall back on, a text that he mastered, that he went over. So when he's asked about various ruling, he would have something, a text or a metin to fall back on, a classic text. from a scholar who the entire ummah is basically, they've come to a consensus upon it, about his status. So here then he explains just the abbreviations here, the HMSA. These are the referring to the different madahib: Hambali, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hambali. The Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and the Hambali, which A represents the Hambali, Imam Ahmed. So he's saying that he doesn't want the student of knowledge to become biased and closed-minded. The use of should before a recommendation doesn't necessarily mean it is obligatory, for it may be preferable or mandatory. Likewise, the use of should not does not mean it is forbidden, for it may be disliked or forbidden. When must and mustn't or must not are used, it means an obligation or prohibition, respectively. Okay, then he mentions some of the references that he used. He mentions Jamal Zarabozo's translation of Fiqh Sunnah, and he mentioned that he benefited also from the Reliance of the Traveler, Umdah Salik by Nur Hamim Kalam. So that's just the. Then he goes into the introduction. The introduction by the author of Umdah. We'll just read quickly through the introduction. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillah أهل الحمد ومستحقه حمدا يفضل على كل حمد كفضل الله على خلقه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له شهادة قائم لله بحقه وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله غير مرتاب في صدقه صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه ما جاء سحاب بوثقه وما رعد بعد برقه. All types of thanks and praise are due to Allah, the most worthy of thanks and praise, a praise superior to all other types of praise. Like the superiority of Allah over all of His creation, I bear witness that nothing deserves to be worshipped or adored except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one without partners, and I bear witness that none deserves to be worshipped, adored except for Allah. He's one without partners, the witness of someone who recognizes and establishes his right. I bear witness that Muhammad is a slave and messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, without being doubtful about his truthfulness. May Allah bestow His blessings upon him, his family, and companions, as long as the clouds bring about rain and the thunder comes after lightning. He says, أما بعد فهذا كتاب في الفقه اختصرته حسب الإمكان واختصرت فيه على قول واحد ليكون عمدة لقارئه فلا يلتبس الصواب عليه باختلاف الوجوه والروايات. To proceed, this is a book of jurisprudence. I summarize it as much as possible. I limited myself to one opinion. So he's just mentioning his condition in his book, and in order that it becomes a reliable source for information. This is Ibn Qudamah rahimahullah speaking here, and so that the right opinion isn't confused because of differences in the opinions narrated by the scholars after Imam Ahmed rahimahullah and those narrated from him directly. Okay, so he's going to mention only one opinion, and he does that so that this book, as it has become, would be a reliable source and not a source of confusion for the beginner. So he's basically explaining that this book is written for beginners, and he explains why he wrote this book. That some of his students asked him to summarize to produce a summarized text for those who wish to to gain mastery. And this is what they used to do in the past. They wanted to have a source that they could go back on. And this is what makes a scholar is that he has his usul, his principal text mastered and memorized, and then he says that he is seeking the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assistance to achieve His great pleasure. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same, and we ask Allah to forgive us and to make us sincere. And he mentioned that he placed some of the ahadith, so that which most fiqh books do not do. He mentions ahadith, and so that it will be barakah, a blessing, and also i'timadan alayha, a means for the student to rely on. Naam. And all the hadith that he mentions are basically authentic. Okay, so we'll stop here, and then inshallah the next recording we'll go over the kitab, the first chapter in the book of Tahara. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.